Now that you have your civil rights leader image picked out and it has been printed in color for you, your next step is choosing whether you are using watercolors or not. If you are using watercolors at all in any of this, you would be using watercolor paper. You would get watercolor paper. With the watercolor paper, you can use colored pencils and watercolors together. However, if you choose the regular drawing paper, this means you're using no watercolor. So the watercolor paper is if you're using any kind of watercolor. The other paper would be if you are not. So then you're going to get the piece of paper, and I might have to help you cut it so that it's the correct size. And you're going to need your pencil with an eraser and some tape. What I suggest you do is you're going to come over to the light table. If there's too many people at the light table, I might have you take some tape and your images, and I might have you go to the courtyard window or one of the other windows to tape your image up so you have some backlight coming in. So what you would do is you're going to turn on the lights for the light table. You're going to place your image underneath your paper like this, and you will use the tape. I would use the tape, and you don't need a lot of it. I would just use a little bit of the tape, and you might tape your paper and your image together. This way it doesn't shift. Now, if you were going to a window outside, I'm going to flip this over and just take a little bit and just tape this to the bottom. If you were going outside, or not going outside, but if you were leaving the art room and you were going to project this, put it up against a window that has some light coming in, you would need to put some tape behind this, obviously, to tape it to the window to help hold it up so that your arm didn't get sore. So once you've done this, depending on whether you're using your drawing paper or your watercolor paper, you are then going to trace all the main lines. So what I suggest you do is go in and you are going to trace not just all the main lines, but I would also suggest maybe tracing the areas where you're seeing some shadow or larger areas that are kind of blacked out. This will help you when it comes time for adding your values. And so you want to really be careful and make sure that you are tracing, doing a really nice job tracing and getting as much detail as you can. Do not rush this process because this will make a difference in your work. So you'll notice how I am being careful to trace and outline kind of the teeth and where her lips are and where they're kind of coming in, so I'm getting as realistic as possible. And you would continue to do this all the way through, including her hair, maybe outlining her eyebrows. I don't do any shading. You're just using lines here. And I'm going to might trace some of the highlights. And any information that I think that I am going to need, so when it comes time for me to add my value, I have all the information there. Now remember, I'm going to go ahead and turn this off now, so you can see how that is being traced. And so here are my two examples on regular paper, and this one is watercolor. Now I will say that it's a little bit harder for the watercolor. The watercolor is a little bit thicker paper, but don't throw away or get rid of your colored image, because you will be using this colored image eventually when it comes time to add color to your portrait. So whether you are working with colored pencil or watercolor, you're going to need this as a resource for you to see the different values and the different colors so that you can try and mimic that on your portrait as to what you're seeing here. So that is the next step, getting your portrait traced onto the paper, whichever paper you are choosing to use for your particular medium.